Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Blackwell Jr. We are back for another edition, episode 53. I'll tell you this right now, this month is going to be absolutely fucking bananas. I'm looking at like 3 episodes a week for the entire month, so a lot of names going to roll through, a lot of great conversations. So I'm excited. I'm just trying to make myself busy and grind with the fact that I'm not working. So we're gonna make the best of the situation. Um, but we got some new sponsors. We got a lot of things going on. So let's get the first one going, guys. It has finally happened. A store fully dedicated to vintage wrestling. They said it can never be done, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Suplex Vintage Wrestling is a store created by wrestling fans for wrestling fans, located on 5th Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, just 1 block south of South Street in the heart of Queens Village. Their shop features the largest collection of vintage wrestling apparel under one classic roof. Their selection includes classic designs featuring your favorite wrestlers from the Golden Age, the Attitude Era, internationals, indies, and more. If you're tired of watching premium live events or pay-per-views alone from your home, then SVW hosts the best watch parties since your friend's Kyle's birthday party when you were 12 years old. Are shirts and watch parties not your thing? Well, don't forget the selection of figures, replica belts, trading cards, and their special T-shirts and hats that they have, and their rare wrestling memorabilia. They have a little bit of something for everything for all the enthusiasts out there. So what are you waiting for? Check them out at suplex.svw on Instagram or suplexsvw.com. Let them satisfy your nostalgic wrestling needs. Sorry, that's a new ad read. I'm trying to get better at it. We'll get it. We'll lock it down eventually, but we do it live. I don't like recording them and then just hitting a button and then let it play. I like the natural feel to it. We do have other sponsors we'll get to later on in the podcast, but all links for myself as well as my guests are below. So make sure you go show that support and show love to myself as well as my guests. Merchandise and T-shirts are all available for myself if you want to support the podcast. But without further ado, this one is once again we had the other half of this amazing two people that I adore so much in this industry on a couple weeks ago, and we said that one was long overdue. This one's just as long. We have yet to have this amazing person on this podcast, and I'm excited for it. So let's bring in everyone's favorite, the one, the only, the Rembrandt. What's
Wow.
going on, man?
Wow. What an introduction. That one touched my heart, bro.
Yo, man, it's been a minute since we've seen each other. I missed the hug. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
that hug in the locker room. Man, it let's just do a little quick history. So like obviously I was a part of PPW for a while. You came in, then I started going I crossed the guardrail, you know what I mean? I was there as, a fan watching you perform, and we were doing kind of like the car ride home, what we thought of the shows, and that's what kind of led me into PPW. And you caught my eye, and it's crazy because not just you, but I didn't realize from being the other side of the guardrail and not having that connection with the roster and the talent that essentially my favorite people that were at that promotion were all coming in the same car every single show. And it's insane now in my years of being part of this industry and being part of this content that like when people roll in together like that, or they come from the same school, or they're brought up the same way and they're brought up by the same people, like they have that thing about them where it's just they conduct themselves a certain way, and they perform a certain way, and they treat everybody around them a certain way. And I was just like, fell in love with you and Main Event and Charles Mason and Evander James and Mantequilla and Nolan Pierce and I'm sorry, Nola Katana. That's a different Nola. But like everybody, I was just like, this is like. And then as the years went between PPW and Camp Leapfrog and High Tension, it just like it became like my tribe. I look forward to that group of people, and unfortunately, things got busy and things are crazy, so I just really can't be at PPW. But you were definitely a bright spot, you and Cosmic. Like I looked forward to going to shows, even with all the craziness of life and the uncertainties of professional wrestling. It was just like, all right, listen, maybe I'm not going to have a great time or things are going to be bummy for me, but at least I get to see my people. And I miss you, man.
Well, first of all, before I cry, I miss you too, bro. It's honestly been way too long. I appreciate excuse excuse me, I appreciate the flattery, and I appreciate being mentioned in those group of people because it is a flattering and talented group of people to be mentioned with. Um, but yeah, dude, like I don't know, like obviously everyone gushes over the people they came out into the business with and grew up with, and all that good shit. But I won't get too detailed into it. But if you came out of that particular era of House of Glory, being trained by the Amazing Red and stuff like that, like you really had to work for it and you really had to earn it. And you know, however many years it's been, I think like I'm approaching year 8 or something like that. And just to still be able to like be privileged enough to do this shit, to be able to travel and to still you know, look around and see these same people that, I started with still scratching and clawing to make their own way. Like, it's a fucking good feeling because, and this, not everyone in this business like lasts past 5 minutes. So to be able to share that is definitely something beautiful. And like I said, it's been way too long since we've seen each other.
Yeah, and like a lot of that crew that we just talked about too were, and I'm not saying that it wasn't, the opportunities weren't there at your home promotion, but essentially like PPW was one of those promotions where it was like you guys were sent out there almost like an excursion, like when the young boys of Japan get sent out to another place and they have to go and earn their keep so they can be, honored more at their home promotion. And that's kind of like what a lot of people did with PPW. Like Charles was like not being really utilized. Evander wasn't being utilized. Main Event wasn't being utilized, and they all kind of went to PPW, made something for themselves, and then went back, and now they're major players at House of Glory. You know what I mean? So it's so that like those early days of like watching you guys all come up and grind is just, I don't know, it's really important. And good. I just want to tell you the moment that I fell in love with you and just seeing like how fucking tough you were and just your character and how so fucking absolutely committed you were. And I felt all this even before we had this conversation. Bro, you did a moonsault from the top rope turnbuckle to the outside of the ring and caught nothing but your shin bones on a steel guardrail. And it sounded like a gun went off. It was the loudest thing I've ever heard to this day at a wrestling show. And I thought to myself, if this dude's legs aren't broke, it's a miracle. And you got up, you limped, some explicits came out, you finished the match, and immediately went to a hospital, and thankfully no major injuries. But it was just like, I remember seeing on the car ride home with BP, and I was like, yo, I love his character. I love the way he conducts himself. You could tell he's so hungry without it, because I didn't know you like that then. And then just like to be able to go through that moment in your match and knowing you're probably fucked up, and to even have the heart and determination to get back in there and keep going, but still stay in character. I was like, this dude's my favorite. Like,
well, I appreciate that. First of all, like, I just want to say that was like the first time I ever experienced some shit like that. Like, I had never had any physical injuries before that. So, you grow up watching wrestling, obviously, and you see your heroes do this shit, and you're like, wow, they're so fucking tough and cool, and, I wish I could be like them. But then it's a different feeling entirely when that moment actually presents itself. And in hindsight, should I have fucking moonsaulted? No, of course not. But, the love of the game, all that fun shit.
trying to make moments.
Exactly. And it was one of those moments where I think I don't even realize how committed I was until that happened, because it wasn't a question of should I get up or not. Like, I absolutely knew something had to be wrong. And even when I stood up, I immediately like almost collapsed back down. But I think I laughed because I was trying to, just laugh off the pain. But that, like, not finishing never once crossed my mind. And I think that you say like that's where you fell in love with me, and I appreciate that because like this shit is no joke, and I try to give everything to what I do. So
in and out of the ring. Another thing that I think you shine very hard with is you're passionate. Like you will go to a promotion that maybe has 15, 30. It doesn't matter the size of the crowd. If that company puts you to a storyline, you work really, really hard to make that to the biggest storyline in the company. You're gonna do the extra work outside the company with your promos and showing yourself out there to make yourself like seen. Another great example of that is at PPW is when, there was some uncertainty with the title picture. They were coming back from the pandemic. They were in a new venue. They didn't know how much was going to carry over from the old venue. And they put you in a storyline with Chris Slade, and you guys worked your ass off on that storyline. And I remember seeing like at the one night of a show, it's like, hey, I think we're gonna move on from the storyline. I go, I think it's a mistake. And they're like, why? And I was like, bro, the fans are more invested in that storyline than your main title. They're more invested in that than your tag team titles. And you're known for being a tag team company. Like, no offense, but like your promotion is never being shown on social media. Like you're like, there's no one putting promos out. There's no way to watch the content unless you're watching on WILN or Fight. Like you're not pushing the brand, and you have one guy pushing your brand, and then you're going to go away from that storyline and then put him in another limbo situation where he has to fight for another storyline. It blew my mind, but you just stayed true to yourself and to your course, and you're just like, fuck it, whatever you give me, I'm just going to make the best of it. I personally don't really know what's happening there now storyline wise, because once again, the only way you can really watch it is through those means. But man, like people are fucking crazy if they don't book you. They just really are, because like your dedication to what you do and how you present it and your storylines and stuff is special.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I do. And I feel like maybe even a year ago, I would have been very humble about that. But you're right. Like, people are crazy if they don't book me. And at first, it used to get to me. But now I realize that,
Real quick, too, just to add to that. And you were doing that entire storyline on a knee you probably shouldn't have been working on.
Oh, yeah.
Just putting that out there, too.
The torn MCL days, good times. But yeah. No, like I feel, and I honestly feel this way about like just every aspect of life. If I don't care,
some good praise. I like this guy a lot too. Jay Messias, Rembrandt's my guy. Taught me my first bombs. That dude works his fucking ass off too. I'm a fan of him.
My guy, yes he does.
I'm very grateful I get to work with him at Sanctuary. Harley in the chat says, "Hey," and my fave. Listen, he was my fave first. Harley, back off.
Nah, Harley got a special place in my heart.
No, me and Harley were very, very early on Team Rembrandt Cosmic when nobody else was. That's why I think that was like me and Harley's bond was essentially used to. We're just like, yo, that's our guy. Because everyone else booed us, but we didn't.
And that's the thing is, like you said, I put all of this passion into it. I try to put the brand on my back as much as I can, whether that's as a champion, whether it's not as a champion. If you take the time to invest in me as someone who could potentially lift your company, then I'm going to do everything in my power to lift your company, to represent your company, to be a 5-2 player for said company. Does that always work out? No. Is it an acquired taste? Yeah. Is it an acquired taste? Sure. Because, some people have their way to work and some people don't. And that's okay. But for people like you, for people like Sabrina, for people like Gavin, for people like Harley, who support me, who have been on this crazy ass journey of mine through PPW, where I was in limbo, where there are times where I do feel in limbo, but you're right. I do feel like I elevated the No Limits Championship to a certain point, and I feel like before or after in the history of that championship, no one can touch me with what I did with that belt. Um, do I feel like I'm a star in the making? Of course.
I don't think it's in
I
the making. I think you're a star. I just think I just we just got to get more people to see it.
definitely. And the reason why I can continue to do these things is because I'm not lying. Whether you like my in-ring style or not, whether you like how I conduct myself as a wrestler or character, whatever performer you want to call me, one thing you can't deny is passion. And one thing you can't fake is passion. And that's why no matter where I go, whether you know me or not, I will elicit a reaction from you. Um, and that's really all it's about. It's about eliciting these reactions and giving people the same feelings that I got when I was young and I needed my heroes to get me through.
Mhm.
Especially nowadays, we're in a post, pandemic age. We're in a very tense societal period for the most part, and the ability to entertain people for however long it might be is not lost on me. Like it's a privilege, and so I like to maximize that privilege.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, there's so much more I can just dive into here. I just don't know how much. I just know how much I really want to put out there because, like, man, like another thing that we bonded over too is just like struggles outside of this business and where we lie mentally and how we're you know what I mean. But like, we'll have a conversation backstage, and then you hit the curtain and you transform. And then you hit that curtain again, and usually I'm there, like, because I'm done. Like, 'cause I used to rotate on commentary, and then we would get out of the curtain and like that the like that world and all those things that you're going through disappear when you hit the curtain, and then Rembrandt comes out, and then you hit the curtain, and it's like that and then you have that 15-20 minute cooldown, and then you're like, fuck, I gotta go back to this world. Like, can I just live in what just happened in those 10-15 minutes out there forever? And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like that moment, like I see wrestlers go through that, and that's like my drug. Like how you guys go through that, I try to find that with commentary. I try to find that with production. I try to find that with just like anything because I don't have that same outlet, and I don't want
Mhm.
the outlet. Trust me, I don't want to go in there and take bumps. Fuck that. But like that's if like in this industry, you gotta like you have to find a way to replicate that. If you're a fucking cameraman, if you're just someone out there sweeping a ring, find your spot. Like find your true love to this. Like because there's so much sacrifice and hard times and like real life shit you got to put aside to chase this fucking dream, and it's not easy.
It really, really, really isn't. And I don't think I understood that coming into it, but I definitely understand it now. Um, the way we were all trained, we respect everyone from commentary to wrestlers to veterans to security and everything in between, ring crew, et cetera, et cetera. Respect the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the best way to treat it. But then even going like farther than that, like you talk about like the mental struggles and putting it away and stuff. Um, while I don't outwardly talk about my mental health struggles all the time, um, something I've realized lately is that where I thought initially that stuff was going away, it isn't. It's just a way to channel these things that I'm feeling. And
I think that's what makes your character in
yeah,
your in ring so much better. It's because like you feel that like when Rem comes out, like there's a lot of I don't want to say your shoot name, but there's a lot of you in the character Rem. Like you're a heel, but you're a heel for the right reasons, if that makes sense. Like yo,
mhm.
you're denying me, like you're not giving me what I deserve here. Like there's some truth to that, because you look around a locker. I'm a Shawn Michaels guy. Shawn Michaels was considered one of the biggest pieces of shits in professional wrestling, but Shawn Michaels looked at a locker room full of like Hulk Hogan's and Macho Man's who never wanted to give the next generation of guys that they're due, and a bunch of guys who were undersized and not muscle guys, and never had an opportunity to get that. And then when he got it, he's like, you know how hard I worked for this? F you. If you're not working as hard as me, back of the line. And people thought of him as a dickhead. Like, but I can see that attitude. And like, I'm not saying that's what, like, who you are as a person, but that's essentially the character of Rembrandt. Like, yes, I'm on top and I probably should be higher. Just give me what I'm worth. You know what I mean? And just, it comes through. And I think fans, it's weird because I was even saying the Cosmic during her thing, like she's clearly a heel. She's out there wrestling Trish Adora, which is a PWI 500 on any level, women, people of color, men and women. She's on GOAT status. She's so good, and people are chanting Cosmic over Trish Adora in a wrestling match, and she's the heel. Like you're both like. You're just your characters are reflections of who you are, and that bleeds through, and fans connect with that, whether you're trying to be out there getting booed or not. It's just like it's contagious, man. You guys are good at what you do.
I appreciate that. I really do. Like, I look at it this way, right? And I mean this in the most humblest but also sure of myself way possible. Every time I've been given any kind of ball in a company, I've never dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that matter of factly, I've done my job everywhere I've been to the best of my abilities. And I personally feel like I am one of the top performers, we'll say in the Northeast, but I'll give you the country because I feel like I'm really that good as a complete package. And whether it's holding the No Limits Championship and elevating that title, whether it's holding the Battle Club Pro Tag Team Championship and elevating that title, main eventing with that title, whether it's the complicated nature and how I won those belts, whether it's my interesting relationship with the PPW fans and where they want to boo me, but I hear you, you can't stay booing me. It's not by accident. It's because I'm doing this from the most sincere part of my heart. But when you live in a certain truth, you have to just really stick by it. And I've had a hard time sticking by my own truth, but that's changed now. And this current incarnation of Rembrandt is the best Rembrandt only because I believe in myself. I know now what guys like you saw, what fans like Harley and Gavin saw, what the Amazing Red saw, because for all intents and purposes, he never gave up on me. What Cosmic sees to trust me enough to help her develop her career and stuff like that, and to help her bring that 9-year-old's dream, 12-year-old dream to life and bring Cosmic to life in a way that is sufficient and that she can be herself and thrive with or without me. Because that was always a goal, for her to thrive with or without me.
She's doing it.
Exactly. And just moments like those and the work I've done with Chris Slade or with Big Game Leroy or even my recent work with Main Event, like,
Can't believe I didn't say Big Game Leroy. That's another one too. I love that dude to death. I haven't seen him.
Shout out to my guy. Shout out to my guy.
Bones,
Speedy
another
recovery.
one too. Yeah, yeah.
Speedy recovery to my guys, Mark Quinn, Big Game Leroy. You know, I love you guys. But yeah, like the work that I've put in, even being in a faction, you know, in a kind of underling role in the House of Gangon, it presented its challenges, but I did my job to the best of my abilities. And I feel like as hard as it is to navigate this business and confusing as it can be sometimes, uh, the love that I get when I go out there, whether they're booing or cheering me, just the pure emotion that I get reassures me, but also makes it worth it at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's new and refreshing at the same time. Because just when I think the connection can't get any better, I'm completely surprised by the reactions. This past PBW event, we had our golden ticket ladder match. I did not win, unfortunately, but the support I got throughout that entire match.
That golden ticket briefcase has been a nightmare since the pandemic.
Oh man, it's that match was insane. But
who was all in the match?
It was me, Alec Oden, Griffin McCoy, and the winner, Clutch Adams. Shout out to Clutch for absolutely just destroying the briefcase to get it. I completely respect it. But
that's a dope 4-way for a belt at the match. That's 4 people I really enjoy watching.
And it was all our first ladder matches. Isn't wrestling such a wonderful concoction? But
I'm glad Clutch is back too.
Yeah, man. Clutch is really, really talented. He was, when I first started, and I was working over at Excellence Professional Wrestling, he was just cooking in all cylinders. And I was like, man, I'd love to get in there with him. That was my first time sharing the ring with him. And it went exactly as I figured it would, like just beautifully.
When that shit went down with him, that was the first person I was just like, you look at the story, you look at the situation, you look at what was said, you look at the context of everything, and I was like, this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. What are we upset about? Like, I don't know. But I'm happy he was over. Like, there's a lot of years. Like, he's in catch-up mode. And he's even motivated to be like, no, fuck that. Like, I walked away from something I didn't want to. And I was literally at a point in my career where he probably would have been at AEW. Like, he 100% would have been on TV right now if this shit doesn't go down. Like, that's money out of his pocket. That's a changing in his life and his family and everything about that. Because he said he had a tweet when he was 17. Like, are you fucking crazy? Like,
yeah, I just,
and whoever the people are who dug that tweet up to do that, I don't know who you are, but respectfully, fuck off.
Seriously. And
like,
because, and the thing, like, I don't try to like have any firm stances one way or another. And the reason why is not because I don't stand for anything, but rather because I stand for the development of people. Like, we are a species that learn from trial and error. We can't be better.
And we're all fuck ups.
Yeah.
Every one of us. We're all fuck ups. And we're struggling to figure shit out.
Especially at 17, dude. Like, I remember when I was a fucking teenager, and I'm sure if you go through my history, I was saying,
if they had cameras on when I was a kid, it'd be over for me.
Exactly.
But also, like, here's the thing. He was in trouble for saying the N-word. But it wasn't like in the context of I hate this group of people. He was a kid that grew up in like a city. He grew up like probably the only white crew, like the white dude in his crew. And at that point in time in early 2000s and shit like that, it wasn't uncommon for different races and cultures to use that word and say it. And I've never personally, I always felt uncomfortable with it, but like it was not a thing. Like, you'd be at the basketball court and it was thrown around, like, you know what I mean? Like, but in terms of endearment. So when he said it, I was like, this is essentially people who don't know culture, you know what I mean? And at the time frame when this is said, but like, the dude's in an interracial marriage, has kids, like, he's not someone who's a hateful person to people of color.
Dude, you'll be surprised, man. Like, first of all, as a black man, like,
it's a weird conversation we just went on. Sorry.
No, dude, you're perfectly fine, because it is very true. I have friends who are not black who use the word. I have acquaintances. I have dated people. Et cetera, who all use the word. So for me, there's a certain kind of numbness to it, because, and I can only speak for myself, I look at it as yes, I understand the connotations, I understand the history, but I'm not going to let that dictate anymore. And so I believe in taking the word back and repurposing it and making it a term of endearment as a fuck you to the people generations before who used that to hold us down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as Clutch goes, personally, I completely agree. Clutch is a nice guy. Like he's been nothing but a sweetheart to me, and vice versa. Um, he has a wonderful family as well. But then, in the same breath, if we go somewhere personal, my mother, who is a Puerto Rican woman, so I'm half breed, whatever. But my Puerto Rican mother, who you know, I'm always I always present myself around her settings so people know she's not alone. They have called her racist, even though like I am black, and I understand where people go with this, and I am not here to tell someone or people how to feel or how to whatever they want to do with these perceived feelings. All I can really do is to be what I believe is the best in human beings, which is our ability to one, learn from our mistakes and then grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been very shitty people. I've been a shitty person. You have, our parents have, etc., etc. We're all the heroes and victims of our own stories. The real question is with everything presented to you, what are you going to do about it? Clutch chose to continue to fight for his dreams and his life. And at the end of the day, no one can fault that. No one can fault that. The
Yeah.
same way I'm here and I'm still trying to fight for my dreams. And there are people somewhere that will have a problem with that. And I don't know
Fuck
why.
them. Fuck them.
But yeah, fuck you. And not in a mean way either. Just in a
No
dude.
respect. If you
If
hate
I
on my
in a,
grind,
yeah.
respectfully go fuck yourself.
Like dude, this life is so hard and confusing. Like I think about it a lot. Like we wake up one day, not even wake up one day, just one day we consciously have memories, and we're on this big floating rock where things and shit just happen, and we have to just flow with it and find our flow in there. And for people to think they are above that, just bare minimum that we as humans all have in common, is not right. Like, it's easy to cast sticks and stones. It's easy to throw ridicule and insults here and there. But it takes a really strong motherfucker to look at somebody and be like, I know you fucked up, dog. But come on, you could be better.
Mm-hmm.
And
And the people who normally throw their criticism are the ones who try to like hate or put someone down, are ones who aren't willing to put the work in to chase that dream. And they're essentially, their hate doesn't come from the person they're hating on. It's the hate that they want what they have, and but they're not willing to put the work in to get where they are. That's
yeah,
essentially what it comes down to.
and that negativity is always going to manifest itself. It's just
Mm-hmm.
how and where. And unfortunately, so it's far easier to push it onto other people than to look in the mirror and be like, fuck, I got to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been too many times where I've looked in the mirror and I've been like, fuck, Rem, you got to do the work. But it makes you better at the end of the day. Clutch is a better performer now, unfortunately, because of what he went through. That resilience is going to help him in the long run. Everything you've gone through and the ups and downs in your own career and personal life, that shit is what makes you resilient. And that's what helps you continue. So you say, like, for example, with my injury, how you couldn't like do the same or like whatever, so have you. I got up because that's all I know how to do. It's just wake up and try to be better. And you do the same thing. You've gone through your fair share of shit since I've known you. But you
Mm-hmm.
wake up every day and you look at what's presented to you. And instead of you could easily be a negative Nancy and a woe is me kind of guy, but you choose to fucking pick yourself up and try to be better and try to make fucking chicken noodles out of chicken shit. And those are the people who I don't want to say I respect the most because I respect everyone, but it takes a certain kind of someone to look at all the shit going on around them and say, I acknowledge you, but I'm still gonna leave this place better than where I found it. And
Yeah.
that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Well, let's rewind. This is usually how I start the interview, but we needed that bond. I appreciate you, man. I love you to death, and putting
I love
yourself
you
out there
too, bro.
like that. But how did you fall in love with this world of professional wrestling? What's your earliest memory of being like, this is because already, listen, we're 35 minutes in, and if people can't hear in your voice and hear in your affliction and see you on camera and just know that you fucking bleed this and you want this. I just want to kind of paint that picture visually and rewind back to a young you when you seen this for the first time and you thought, like, I'm gonna put myself through absolute physical and mental hell for this dream.
Uh, well, I, for whatever reason, and I can't explain to you why I remember this shit, but I do, and very vividly. I had to be, because I was born in '93 in September. So I had to be fucking 2 or 3 years old at the time. But uh, I saw The Undertaker's entrance one time. And it was just, the blue lights, just all of it, the spectacle of it. And it was the first time, it's my first memory that I can remember of anything. Uh, and I just remember being so just mesmerized by what was happening on the screen. And of course, my mom, being a mother, she changed the fucking channel. So there was my wrestling for another like 3 years. But you fast forward till about 90, I want to say I started watching where I had a conscious memory about it. And consistently around 97, 98, my uncle was a big wrestling fan. So he was the one that would sit with me and watch it. Obviously, Raw was a different time back then. So it was TV 14. It was fucking, I think it was like 9 to 11 p.m. So technically speaking, I was only allowed to watch the first hour. But my uncle would like, I would like, after my mom would like, be like lights out and shit, I would sneak upstairs and let my uncle back in so he could fucking watch the last hour. And like, my mom would lie and pretend she didn't know he was there, but she knew. And like, we'd fucking practice moves and shit like that. Um, and so I grew up a big Attitude Era guy, Stone Cold, The Rock. The Rock was my guy just because, to a certain extent, I felt like he looked like me. And that was really
Representation.
big. Yeah, that was really big. But, The Rock, uh, Triple H, Austin, Mick Foley, Kane, and Undertaker. Those were like, as far as my early childhood, those are the guys that like really pulled me into it. And it wasn't obviously about ring work because I didn't know nothing about that shit. It was about their personalities and why they were fighting and who, I I wouldn't say I would flip flop between who were my guys, more so than like depending on the context of the rivalry is where I would support one of my guys on if they were feuding with each other. For example, Rock and Austin. Sometimes I was on Austin's side, sometimes I'm on Rock's side. And sometimes, they turn heel and then you like, what the fuck? Um,
Yeah,
but around 2002, Halloween, my uncle passed away, who
that got you
was
into
the one,
wrestling.
yeah, and that was just really bad. Uh, but I stepped away from wrestling for a couple years, watching it, but I wanted to feel close to him again. So I started watching again, uh, Ruthless Aggression era into the into that WrestleMania 24 time period again, and just really grew up with John Cena, with Randy Orton, with Dave Batista, with Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar. Uh, I could go on and on for hours. Clearly, I was mostly influenced by WWE as I was younger, just because it was the only thing really available to me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know much about Japanese wrestling or AAA or anything of the sort, just because my uncle was just a WWF fan. His
Hmm.
dad was, and he was. So, my dad wasn't even a wrestling fan. My parents aren't wrestling fans at all. My mom, while she loves and supports me, and she will fight for me, you can ask Steve Pena about that. Um, she, the physical toll it takes on me, she is not a fan of it.
Has she
She's
watched your
not.
matches?
Yes. Uh, she has watched a lot of my matches. She has never watched any of my hardcore matches. But the most physical match she's seen is myself versus Steve Pena. That was my debut for Battle Club Pro. It was a match I wrestled on one knee. Um, it was a match basically that gave me a new lease on life as far as New York wrestling is concerned because, shout out to Steve Pena. He's like that brother is a wrestler. Like if you look at what a wrestler should be, is Steve Pena. He brings that passion and that just pure wrestling ability to the ring. And he beat me up. But I met him there and it was just one of those like beautiful things. But going back to like, my initial like motivations, uh, you know, I am a very big Randy Orton guy. I think the way he moves, his fluidity, his passion that I don't think I think now people give him credit for it, but I don't think people really understand how passionate Randy is because like he's been there for 20 years. He's had fuck up after fuck up after fuck up. He's had people, critique his promos, wrestling ability, whatever so have you. And throughout that all, he always got better, always
Hmm.
improved. And
Reinvented himself.
yeah, for every era. There's not a point in his career where I look at Randy Orton and while he may say, he was half-assed it, I can still look at it and be like, yeah, but I still felt the natural passion you had for this.
I think that was
And
his defense mechanism. He would say like, "Oh, I'm just lax. I don't really care," but he did.
yeah, I finally started learning more outside of WWE. I want to say towards high school when I finally discovered Impact. I came so late to the game. I'm talking like 2009. So they were already like cooking on all cylinders by the time I joined. But I noticed it just because I was flipping randomly and I saw Sting. And back in the day, I don't know if you had this thing, but like I had this thing where if you weren't on TV, I thought you either retired or you were dead.
I thought, I thought WCW was like the generic brand wrestling. Like
Yes.
that's how I perceived W. I'm not even joking.
Yes.
Like I remember I'd go to the stores and my mom be like, "Yo, I got you some wrestling stuff." Like we were out at the store, and the only way I've ever seen WCW stuff was like the 5 and 10 store, like the poor people store. Like they'd have the WCW cards would be there or the rubber
Yes.
stings. I'm like, yo, these even their figures suck. You know what I mean? I was like,
Exactly. And then especially being a kid, because being a kid, perception is reality. And the WWF had fucking, because I lived in New York City, so they had fucking the Hard Rock Cafe in Times Square. They
yeah.
had all the advertisements, the lunch pails, this, that, and the third. And then, to me, WCW was just like that Southern company that had like Goldberg, who to me, Goldberg was just
He
a
bored the
non.
fuck out of me.
Yeah, I don't say he bored the fuck out of me
Oh,
because
he
there was
bored the
like,
fuck out of me. I hated him.
sometimes I love the violence, but for me, he was just a non beer drinking
Yeah.
Austin at the time. Obviously, as I grew older, I understand the differences now. But, perception was reality. And that's the thing about the WWF for me was that maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't, but they pushed themselves as being larger than life and being a part of mainstream media and stuff like that. And I mean, shit, look at them now. It's like Disney. So, to a certain extent, like their branding and marketing worked. And it trickles down to the rest of the business. I don't think it's just I've heard other wrestlers say this. Uh, it trickles down from the most successful company, and then it bleeds into everything else. And so, with that being said, I look at PPW, I look at Battle Club, and I say, why, why not? Why can't we be that big? Why can't we be that important? Why can't my No Limits Championship matter? Why can't the Battle Club Pro Tag Team Championships matter? And so I take that, and in this social media age, which is, give or take, because personally, I don't like being on social media like that, but I understand why it's necessary. Why can't this new generation of stars make their own way and touch an audience in ways that, unfortunately, the guys before us couldn't because of access? Um, and if I can take the legacy that I've inherited from the Amazing Red, who comes from your Mikey Ripwrecks, who comes from your McFoleys.
I mean, Mikey Whipwreck was that story. That was
Exactly.
he was the dude that nobody believed in. That was his whole gimmick. His like,
yeah, and even Amazing Red, like he tells the story all the time. Like his debut, he was so small, and he had his little like red-haired afro, and like people would like chant the craziest things to him and tell him like he was gonna die and shit. And he made believers out of everyone. And so I don't take that lineage lightly, while also understanding that I have a chance to do something well. Monetarily, it may be difficult. There's not a price.
there's also another name in there that I would say that was as a huge influence on you as well. Unfortunately, we lost him.
Maddie.
Yeah. I've never personally met the guy. I don't know anything about him. But it's one of those things where it's when people carry on a name or a legacy, or they like you feel the love of that person through somebody else, and that's Matt. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know him from a hole in the wall. I've never seen him wrestle. I never seen any of that. But like I said, that group of people who would travel from New York to PPW, they all said the same thing. They all had the same thing, and they all gave a lot of their credit to that person. And it's just like, Jesus, like that's an impact. That's an impact you want to have for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
And it's perfect you say that. I usually don't talk too much about Maddie because our relationship was our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I respect other people saying and honoring him in their ways, and I will continue to do so in my own ways. But he probably wouldn't take credit for this if he was here. But this current incarnation of Rembrandt has a lot to do with Maddie, because Maddie was the one constantly pushing me to see past what was happening in the moment and understand my worth and understand that I had something to give, whether that was in the independent or somewhere else. And watching him grow as a person and as a performer for the couple of years that I got to share this earth with him was exactly what I was talking about earlier about the trial and error of doing something and then learning and trying to be better than you were yesterday. Maddie by no means was perfect at all, but he tried. And he spoke a lot about leaving a legacy on the business outside of joining a major company and making a lot of money. And, I used to laugh at him sometimes and like, I love you, bro, but you're crazy because I'm trying to get paid because this shit hurts. And while that is very much still true, because this shit still does hurt, I understand what he means.
He did it.
And he did do that. And
his legacy, without like, I'm not putting names out there or anything like that, but his legacy and his attitude and the way he conducted himself. And like I said, I don't know him from a hole in the wall. I just know of him and the stories, but there's traces of him on Wednesday nights, and there's traces of him in other companies. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Like people may never know his name or know anything about him, but you see him if you look in the right places.
And that is something that,
That's a legacy.
yeah, and I'm sure if you ask him, he'd be happy about it. Um, we always used to joke about the cloud chasers and like people stealing our shit and stuff like that because we would do something and then see it happen, see it done not too long ago, not too later afterwards. And the way we looked at it was funny because I looked at it as like flattery, whereas he looked at it as like, don't bang my shit. But
Happens all the time.
but I personally believe that he would be proud of the legacy he's left, and he would be proud of who he considered his friends in their business that are still here working and carving out their own legacies, and just doing what the fuck we know we can do. And I mean that in a sense of talking about your Charles Masons of the world, who is a beautiful, beautiful man and a beautiful character and a beautiful human being. You have your main events of the world who
Can we just talk
took
about Charles real quick? Holy fuck, did that guy change and transform and just lean
Mhm.
into something? And I feel like he's right there. He's got to be right there. Like, if there's people not watching him that'll be like, yo, how is he not on the next level? Dude, literally, he went from the Playboy billionaire, spoiled brat kid. Then he had that small run of a baby face with Evander, which I wish we would have got more of because it was fucking hilarious. I literally,
Mhm.
like, I always tell this story. He went into a crowd, started the night as a heel, then turned babyface, and then right back to heel in less than 15 minutes. He knows how to pull emotion and change your perception on a snap of a finger. He is crazy talented, and the stuff that he's doing now with this, the psycho and the killer, and like, it's crazy good. It's crazy good.
It is. And when you're good and you know you're good, that's where the magic comes. And Charles is good. And he knows he's good. And now he's just getting the opportunity to show everyone how fucking good he is. And he doesn't need tag team partners or stablemates or anything of the sort. Because he, as an entity, is just that fucking
Dude,
good.
and anyone, unfortunately, who's around him in a stable right now or in any point, it sucks because they could be the most talented person on the roster too. But he cast a big shadow.
Yeah. And while some people look at that as intimidating, others may look at it as a challenge because ultimately, like, iron sharpens iron. That's what we always say. And, you know, we're all talented individual people on our own. But the work we put in at House of Glory, the work we put in Woodward and the boxing gym speaks for itself. And that's why we're able to go out to all of these different places. And no matter what happens or what people say, one thing you can't deny is, hey, Redskins are pretty good. And
Pretty good. It's an understatement. Y'all fucking. If I was a billionaire, dude, and if I had my own company, I don't. People are shitting on WWE right now because they have 13 world titles, or AEW has 150 titles. But honestly, it would be like everybody. It would be hard to pick everybody to be like, you know what I mean? To like, who's gonna rock a belt? But man,
and that's a beautiful problem to have.
yeah,
I will say that's a beautiful problem to have.
that New York scene, just in general, man. Like I said, I've been very blessed to be part of the Pennsylvania scene for a while. The Northeast PA scene. I don't want to take credit for all Pennsylvania because there's a lot I don't see. And then like breaking into Jersey. But I've been peeping New York, and like a huge reason why I've been watching the New York scene is because of you guys. And then like I even told Cosmic, I said, man, the female wrestling scene is good right now. It's really good, but it ain't New York good. That like New York treats women wrestling on a different fucking level. They really do. Like you look at that scene up there, and I like I said, I don't know much about the place, or I don't know like who's in charge or what's going on there, but that Battle Club man, I like what's coming out of there is impressive.
Well, shout outs to Joaquin Morales, Mr. Martinez, and Hoke. Those are
My car
uh,
wasn't broke, I'd be making travels up there. I'm
those
trapped in
are.
these four walls for the foreseeable future. That's why I'm podcasting almost every day.
I feel you, bro. I feel you. But don't worry. Once you're good, we'll definitely get you down here. But going back to what you said, like, I Battle Club is different. It is different in a good way, and it comes from it comes from Joe Kim having a good heart. We may not always see eye to eye, and he isn't too fond of like who I keep as company and federated and blah 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 blah. But he cares, and he doesn't like we saying he cares can be so vague, but he cares in the most human way someone can care about you. Um, and being in this position of my career now and seeing that, I can look at that passion, that emotion, and say, okay, that's something I want to be a part of. That's something that I can identify with. And so, with Cosmic's encouragement and stuff like that, we found a home at Battle Club, and yeah, we take women's wrestling very serious because women command our respect. Um, Women are athletes. Okay, women can are draws. Women can command a stage, etc., etc. We, as men, all we have to really do is just support them
Mm-hmm.
and put them in positions to succeed. And Joe Kim will put you in a position to succeed despite your race, despite your sex, despite your beliefs, whatever so have you. If you are talented and you can prove that talent, you will get a fair opportunity. My match against Steve Pena was a perfect example of him just giving me a chance. It was my first main event of my career. He said, "Just go out there and do what you do." And I've had that reassurance, but never on that stage. And since I can say, since he dubbed me main event Rembrandt and gave me that shot, I've main evented. I want to say 4 different shows by now. I've main evented against Tessa Blanchard. I've been in ladder matches. I have been I have cashed in for the Battle Club Pro Tag Team Championships. I've been cashed in on for the Battle Club Pro Tag Team
Who's your tag team
Championships.
partner?
My tag team partner is Abraham Khan.
Okay.
Also get well soon to my guy. As you know, car subjects to change, but you're gonna get good. But you know, throughout all of these rivalries and matches that I've had over this past year in Battle Club, because there hasn't even been a year yet, um, the one thing, whether he's fond of me joining Federated or fond of the Kiss of Death or whatever so have you, Joe Kim cannot deny that I bring a firm passion to this. And the people in those crowds, when I go out there, they feel something. Whether they're angry at me or they love me, they feel something. And as long as you feel something, that's the point. I have you exactly where I want you. And I will
Mm-hmm.
go and do whatever it is the job calls for. But again, this is everyone likes to say like this is a cutthroat business and blah 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 blah. But it's bullshit. This is a business of unity and cohesion. I cannot perform without my promoters. Promoters cannot promote without me.
There's how you said unity, and here's a cool thing about Battle Club that I've been kind of peeping a little bit is because I like what I obsess with when in this business is not just like when I go to a show. Obviously, I'm a content creator, and that I put that on the back burner, and I want to actually get to know the talent and become friendly and all that stuff. And I think that's what sets me apart. But like, I like to learn where they came from. I like to learn what their background was at a school, and because I think it tells you a lot about that person's character and how they conduct themselves. And there's two schools that of people who have come out of places in the New York scene that I really, really respect, and I love what they do. And Battle Club kind of has that melting pot of the two coming together. So you kind of have that like that amazing red kid, like some people there flying in. And then you got those Johnny Rod kids flowing in there, and boy, if that's not a match made in heaven, you're like like, you know what I mean? Like that's two really good places, and they just put out good performers and good people. And if they're finding each other in another place, and that place is Battle Club, that's fucking magical.
And that really is what it's about. Like, it's just magic. Like, Joe Kim told me, he calls it the fallout shelter because he wanted, no matter what scenario you were coming from or whatever so have you, he wanted wrestlers to know they had a home. And that no matter what was going on, this could be their home. And he has extended that door and home to me in a way that I fully cannot ever repay him for, other than just going out there and giving my absolute 1,000% of my soul into what I do. That is the only way I can thank the people who have given me the opportunity to do what I do. Amazing Red, Brian Excel, Mikey Riprick, Mick Foley. They don't even fucking know me, but yet, they are directly tied to my lineage. And now Joe Kim, Mr. Martinez, okay. The only way I can thank these people, Tony, Paul Bow, is to go out there and just fucking give everything I have. And I have said this before, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. I fully understand every time I get in the ring, there's a risk that I can just be paralyzed or die. And I think that is a certain risk that, while it is understood, I don't think it's emphasized enough. And with that risk comes a certain understanding. And my understanding is that as long as I'm blessed enough to do this, and people give me the opportunities to do this, I will give you everything I have, whether that's on one knee, one leg. I'll be so fucking honest with you, bro. I have had like some nerve issues, so sometimes I can't even feel like my fucking left hand sometimes. It's all worthy sacrifices to be able to do what I'm blessed enough to be able to do, and to, like I said, to find people along the way like yourself, like Harley, like Gavin, like the main event, who may be mad at me right now, but I love you guys. To find guys like Quinn, Leroy, Big Daddy Cruz, Chris Seaton, legitimate friends in this business. Guys like Maddie, guys like Vinny the Voice, who are unfortunately no longer here with us, but still left an impact and touched the people they got to interact with. The only way I can honor these people and ever thank these people for the kindness and love they've given me is just fucking go out there and perform until I absolutely can't anymore. And so that's what I intend to continue doing until I can.
I relate so heavily to that. The moments I want to quit and I want to give up, and I don't even have a big, huge following. I'm not the biggest person. My subscriber count's not there. My views aren't there. You know what I mean? But it's just like how you feed into like the people who have given you those opportunities and the people who have sacrificed or took time away or put faith into you or loved you or gave you that encouragement. It's like when you have that bad day and you're like mentally not ready to do it. And like I see people on the scene that like, yo, I'm gonna take a couple weeks off and have a mental health break. And it's just like I respect that, but that ain't me. That I look at that month off and someone can take off my plate. Someone's gonna eat off my hard work or the past 5 years I put in. So how can I take a break now? Those like the 3 people that may believe in me, I can't quit on them. Like, you know what I mean? There's so much to this and the layers. And I think that's why we bond as well as we do. And we feel each other as much as we do is because it's just like, I was concerned with you, man, with that knee. And I was like, yo, you should probably chill. But I knew it would be like me telling myself if I was in the same situation, like you should rest your knee up. But you're never going to do that because those same exact things, like if I disappear for 6 months or 5 months and rest my knee up, like that fear of is my spot here? Are they going to remember who I was? Is the grind I put in for this entire time going to be here when I get back? Now, fuck that. I can't stop now. Like, and that's what drives you, man. And I think we hit the hour mark, and I honestly feel that we can go for another 4 hours, and I want to end it here because I will say this right now to the people listening. The first repeat guest on this podcast is going to be you because we didn't talk any history, right? And that's fine because I felt like this was more than just a podcast. This is more than a conversation. This was therapy for both of us in a way, you know what I mean? Because these are the conversations we would have backstage. And I remember remember having a conversation with you. I believe it was the night you won your title. Like we were both in mental shit spots and we were literally backstage talking and we're literally how we are right now on fucking so passionate and so hungry with the fucking verge of tears of every time we're about to talk. And then you went out and got your fucking first title ever. And we're trying to take pictures and you're trying to still be kayfabe. And that's when like full blown Rembrandt was kind of like, fuck, I got to lean a little bit into this baby face because people believe in me. Like, and I seen that struggle of the character of Rembrandt. You're like, we're at first for a while, you didn't go out to the people in the crowd or you didn't want yourself to be seen. I remember I used to beg you for merch and you're like, I can't. Like, it goes against everything I believe in for my character. But
I mean, I
because
still don't have merch, right?
I know. Well, you that's why I made a logo with your face on it.
A lot of money.
Yeah, that's why I put a logo with your face on it. That was my loophole. But it was just like I love you to death, man. I seriously do. And I know you know this, but if there's ever a conversation that you need to have or you just need to fucking vent to or someone to fucking be vulnerable with, man, I'm always a call away. We're gonna definitely do this again, and we're gonna get more Rembrandt story out. The only thing I can say, man, is if you listen to this, once again, if you don't feel it, you're fucking insane. And if you need someone on your roster who's gonna put that work in, you're a goddamn fool for not booking this guy. Like I said, man, I love you to death. Where can people find you on social media?
I love you too, my brother. First and foremost, you can find me on Instagram and late Twitter at the Rembrandt, 2 underscores at the end. I do not have a blue check because I didn't have one before, and I'm not gonna pay $8. I post not enough, but I will post enough to keep you interested. And again, if you were nice enough to listen to this podcast and spend this last hour with myself and the great Mr. Anthony, thank you for that. And just, if you take anything out of this, just fucking live your life with passion. Live in your fucking truth, dog. And don't let anyone tell you can't do something. Because chances are, they just probably told themselves that shit. And they need to make themselves feel better.
That's exactly what it is. Links below. Like I said, follow him on all social media. Make sure you hit those comments and kind of likes and say, "Hey, ABJ sent me." Get this dude out there, man. Share his shit. He works too fucking hard to not be in more homes and more people. Go seek out his matches. Type in Rembrandt Wrestling on YouTube and just go watch. He's working his dick off. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, the promos, everything's there. Support, and we're gonna get that fucking merch going, whether you like it or not. We're gonna figure something out.
Don't worry. I am working on it. It will be done. I can't say when, but it will be done. I promise.
Yeah. I have 485 logos. I just can't sell a T-shirt.
Listen,
When you finally put your one out, people are gonna go for it. But listen, and I may know some logo people. So if you need art, hit me up and let me know what you need, and we can. I know some good people. One of them being right here, Hunter Dillon. That guy right there makes a lot of my logos. So if you see a lot of those like dope ass shit, it's probably him, my buddy Kai, or Haley Stokes, and they're all amazing. So we'll let you guys on that note, and we're running this back. We're having another conversation. You know what I mean?
For sure, my friend.
If I keep talking, we're gonna be here another hour because it just. But we're gonna end it there. I sorry I didn't get to any questions in the chat. I just felt like today's wasn't. I hate to say this for the live chat, but this wasn't for you guys today. You know what I mean? This was two people who haven't talked in a long time finally getting to talk, and you guys were just lucky enough to see it live and listen to it back, and we appreciate you for being a part of that. If you want any indication of maybe what an ABJ has a conversation with some talent backstage, this is it. This is about as close as you're gonna fucking get. I always get told, how come you don't have a camera backstage when you're doing your vlog? I say, because some of it's so personal and so deep that I don't want to put people out there like that. This is your best taste of that. This is honestly the closest you're going to get to that. And I appreciate you being vulnerable like this and putting yourself out there and being willing to talk about some of the things. And you know what I mean? Like, it means a lot, you know, to put it's hard. It's fucking hard, especially as a man, to make yourself vulnerable and show what is perceived as weakness, but it's not. It's really not. Yeah, I'm gonna stop fucking ranting because it's gonna be here all day. Here's some music by Billy Trey. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Another live episode at 7:00 with the dude. Another young start coming out of the Northeast PA scene out of High Ground Wrestling, former Backbreakers. He's less than a year into his career, and he is one of the most compelling and entertaining and funniest characters you'll see on the scene. And we're going to talk to him tomorrow and learn about him. And then also on Thursday, we have Ed House, who's a Northeast PA veteran who's been around a long time, insanely funny. One of my first interviews I've ever done backstage with him, where I actually learned how to edit and add beeps to it. I would have left all the curses in, but I thought beeping the curses made it more entertaining. So I told him to curse as much as possible, and he obliged me. So we will have that interview on Thursday. This month, I'm telling you right now, I'll give you a little teaser right now. I'll run off some names. Wait till you hear this, in no particular order. Number one, obviously, Rembrandt. Ryan Vox will be on the podcast. The Dude, Ed House, Deshaun Pratt, Jay the Key Evans, Julius Smokes, which is going to be absolutely insane. I don't know what to expect with that. Brandon Downey, Squid Sterling, Pete Corvus, Just Saying, Elevation 1470, Leo Sparrow, Grimm's Toy Show. Grimm himself is going to be on the podcast. And then I have 3 more dates open. I'm waiting for one person to get me a date. And then once they give me that one date, I already have 2 other people online to be booked. So there's 3 more names being added. Like, I'm not working right now. I'm fucking broke. I can't drive to work. I'm trying to find work at home stuff. So until they hit me up saying for an at-home job, I'm going to grind this entire month. I'm 1 subscriber away from 670 subscribers. I want that 1K. I want it, and I don't want to wait till the end of the year. This is my month. I'm going to grind my fucking ass off, and we're going to get it done, and we're going to give you some really good content with some really good people, and you're going to hear some really good stories. There's a lot of good podcasters out there, but ain't none of them ABJ. And how you said before, I'm going to not be cocky, but I'm going to be confident in myself. That's what I'm pulling out of this interview today. Like, I let too many people eat on my plate, and it's time for me to get that meal.
And like the young kids say, that's on period.
Yep. We're out of here. Billy Trey, Converse Kid Music. We're gone.